welcome to a new episode of Journey of a Christian Writer. In this episode, I'm going over settings part 2, interior versus exterior settings and subtle details. The topics that I'll be going over in this video are the benefits of subtle details, less is more, interior settings, 6 subtle details, exterior settings, 5 subtle details, 8 natural elements, some examples of subtle descriptions, and utilizing weather in scenes. First, I'm going over the benefits of subtle details, less is more. There are many benefits to using subtle details in one's writing. Some of these include how it helps writers to prevent having lengthy descriptions, and it also helps to create a balance between creativity and allowing writers to use their own imagination. And a final benefit is that subtle details can be like a combination of showing and telling, whether writers want to have readers fill in the blanks or if they want to pull readers' attention. Next, I'm going to go over interior settings, 6 subtle details. There are 6 subtle details that writers can use within their writings. And these include artificial lighting, natural elements, sound effects, temperature, effects of darkness, and texture. As you can see here, I have a diagram that I had put together of the 6 subtle details for interior settings, which is also on the actual blog that this episode is based from. I'm just going to briefly go over each one of these subtle details and how writers can use them within interior settings. For artificial lighting, this one writers can use for subtle details as within different scenes and different rooms of interior settings, there's different types of lighting, and lighting is a really good way to help change the moods of different scenes. For example, a character in a dimly lit bedroom, that can give off a sense of an eerie feeling or a sense of suspense, for example. For natural elements, writers can describe how different objects or living things are affected by natural elements. For example, a character that enters into a house and leaves a trail of dirt from their muddy shoes, for example, or a rose or a flower in a vase by an open window that dances gently in the breeze, are just some examples that writers can use for natural elements. Sound effects is another subtle detail for both interior and exterior settings that can be used for scenes. And something else to keep in mind when it comes to sound effects is writers can not only describe the different types of sounds, but also can describe how loud or how soft sounds are for sound effects. For example, maybe a character hears indistinctive voices next door to them of the tenants in an apartment building that live beside them, for example. I think that's something that I used once in one of my descriptions. But that's just an example for sound effects. For temperature, this one can be used, for example, like cool air blowing from an air conditioning unit or the warmth of a crackling fireplace, for example. And temperature can also be used with characters as well. For example, maybe a character has a fever and another character checks their forehead and it feels hot, for example. So it can also be applied to actual characters instead of just the environment. Temperature can. The next one, effects of darkness, is one that isn't used very often, but it can be a really clever way to include a subtle detail. For example, a character that gets startled by a coat rack that's hanging with a jacket and a derby that they mistaken for a tall man, for example. And finally, texture. For this one, writers can describe the different textures of different furniture, or maybe a character has their shoes off and is walking on a soft carpet floor or something, for example. It's just some ways that writers can include texture, or a character that is sitting on a leather sofa and is sweaty from a jog that they just did or something, and their skin is sticking to the leather sofa, because that's what that type of furniture tends to do, is just sticks to your skin. So that's something else, that could be used for a subtle detail. I also have a diagram here for exterior settings, 5 subtle details, which just includes all of the previous ones mentioned in interior details diagram, as well as weather and climate conditions. Because for exterior settings, obviously you can describe weather and climate, as these types of settings are outside, so that's why I included that specifically for exterior settings. Now I'm going to go over subtle details, 8 natural elements. I made a diagram of 8 natural elements that you can see here, which includes fire or lava, earth or dirt, sun or moon or natural light, metal or steel, water, snow or ice, or just the different forms of water, air or wind, stones or rocks, and lightning or bolts. As Russian novelist Anton Chekhov said, "Don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass." To me, this quote is not only emphasizing the importance of showing more than telling, but also how the special effects of subtle details that can be used when in one's writing. Using the 8 natural elements I mentioned, is an effective way that writers can include subtle details within their writing. In order to do this, though, it requires writers to be selective of their diction, create evocative images, compare non-related things, and disregard redundancy. Subtle details can be used to create a sense of place without actually stating where characters are located. Now I'm going to go over some examples of subtle descriptions. Example 1, water. 6-year-old Amy felt like the weather. Liquid worms squiggled down her side window as she whimpered and tightly hugged her teddy bear, sitting on the back seat behind her mother. Readers can instantly catch on that the weather is gloomy and likely raining based on the subtle detail liquid worms squiggled down Amy's side window. They can also figure out the little girl is sad, likely crying, and sitting in a car or vehicle based on the position where Amy is on the back seat compared to her mother in front of her without these things being stated. Little details can say a lot in only a few words. Example 2, fire. Bright orange fingers and smoke ascended from the circle of stones on the ground. The boy sat on a stump, stuck 2 marshmallows on the end of a stick, and toasted them until they became brown. His dad rubbed and warmed his hands near the dancing light, sitting on a stump across from him. Here, in this second example, readers can identify where the characters are based on the subtle details: bright orange fingers ascending from the circle of stones in the ground, and dancing light. Without it plainly being stated, the boy and his dad are sitting at a campfire. You know what people say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and subtle details can create this same effect when used well by writers. Now I'm going to go over utilizing weather in scenes. As we writers know, there are different types of weather, and I have made a diagram here that you can see of 9 types of weather, including hurricanes, blizzards or snow, sunny or clear skies, sleet or hailstorms, rainbows, windy, rain or thunderstorms, tornadoes, and cloudy or partly cloudy. As I discussed in a previous video of creating settings, weather can be used to create an illusion of real life. Writers can use subtle details to describe weather rather than actually stating what the weather is. Here I have an example for a tornado. Auntie M stepped outside on the front porch of her farmhouse and widened her eyes at the darkened sky. Her heart sank. A gigantic thread of cotton glided across the field and attacked the wood fence in the distance, snapping it into pieces like toothpicks. In this example, readers can instantly know what Auntie M is seeing is a powerful tornado based on the subtle details: gigantic thread of cotton and the wood fence snapping into pieces like toothpicks. Using subtle details in our setting descriptions can help take writer skills to a whole other level, and is clear proof that many times less is more. That's all that I have for this video. I hope it was helpful. If it was, please like and subscribe for more writing videos in the future, and thank you for watching.